Do you think it's time to start resting the big boys? I think to me that is the question moving forward in the last 9 regular season games. Like in an ideal world, are you sitting Marner for one game? Are you sitting Matthews for one game? As we know, NHL players are a lot different than the NBA where they don't want to play back-to-backs. They don't want to play any game for that matter.
Yeah, they don't seem to want to too badly, do they? No, it's a tough call, man, because I do know that when you go out and let's just say you're trying not to get hurt and you're kind of tiptoeing around in the corners and you're trying to kind of get out of the way of that shot and not block it. When you're doing that stuff that's out of the ordinary, you for some reason you just tend to get hurt. You put yourself in kind of weird little positions and awkward situations, and you're pulling up when you usually would be going straight through, and you tend to just get hurt when you're trying not to. And I don't want to start resting these players and taking them out of their comfort zone and taking them out of their routines and make them feel like they're kind of out of balance right before the playoffs. At the same time, I mean, if their schedule is hard and you're putting them through the ringer, and if they're feeling banged up and their legs are sore and they're not getting the recovery they need and they're feeling worn down, well then absolutely, pull some guys out here and there, definitely pull back on their minutes. But it's a balancing act for sure. I think that's a tough decision for a coach. I think it's one he's kind of been struggling with almost as far as
Mhm.
who to play and when, and he's trying to keep everyone involved sometimes and rotate the defensemen and do the 11-7, and it's just his MO to do it that way. And I mean, you can't argue with him. He's got the reins and the team's doing well. So it's a balancing act for sure. But I think, when you're coming down to the last few weeks here and there's only single digit games left, is definitely when you start to think, okay, how can I pull back on these guys? And ultimately, I think you'd go and sit them down and talk to them in an honest situation. They're going to tell the media, hey, I want to play every game. But when you sit down and you say,
Yeah.
what do you want to do here in the next couple of weeks? What do you want? What do you want to see? How do you think you'll feel the best? What's going to give you the most confidence and jam going into game one? And then take their opinion and work with that.
Yeah, no, that's really, really well put. I think you look at the schedule moving forward. I can't believe April's just around the corner. This is their final game of March, so they'll have 8 left at Ottawa, home to Detroit, Columbus, at Boston, home to Montreal, at Florida, at Tampa, at the New York Rangers to finish off the season. The game I would circle right now where I'm not playing my best team, obviously, is the second to last game. Penultimate game of the season against Tampa. I'm showing nothing, man. Like Joseph Wall starting that game for me. I wouldn't even play Matthews. I wouldn't play Marner. I would play as an American Hockey League roster as you could for that game. I don't think you want to show Tampa anything in terms of configurations. It is a game within the game come the Stanley Cup playoffs. And I do think there is a way to rest some of these guys down the stretch. Okay, I get it. If they don't want to play these games, maybe you put them in the lineup, but you don't play them as often. I think the key here, obviously, to keep everybody, fresh and healthy and ready to go for game one against Tampa. But number two, have them feeling good about themselves. And I get your point. You take them out, you miss one game. In the sport of hockey, you miss one day. It feels like a long, long, long time. So I get it from that perspective, but I think there is a way for Sheldon Keefe to insulate these guys and make sure they don't play too much down the stretch here.
Yeah, and I think he'll do that. To what degree is yet to be seen. That'll be his call, and it'll be interesting to see what they do. But I definitely agree that second last game of the year. Right now, the Leafs have the ball in their court. They have beat the
Yeah.
Tampa Bay Lightning this season. They have home ice advantage. They are ahead of them. And you know what? You watch a couple of Tampa games in recent weeks here. They come
Hmm.
out and they bang and crash and be physical and try to intimidate and dominate and everything else. Why give them the opportunity to do that in the second last game of the year and have something wild and crazy happen, and then have the Leafs team reeling on what they should do and how they should respond going into the playoffs? Why give them that opportunity? You got the reins right now. The ball's in your court. Go into that game one with control, in a sense of the mentality of how this series is setting up. And when you have home ice and you beat the team in the regular season, you're kind of set up to be a little bit in control. And why give that away the second game of the season? Absolutely play Wool, give him his last
Yeah.
game of the year, barring any big injuries or big mishaps, and let some of those guys play in an NHL game, and let the other guys kind of get their legs under them who wouldn't play normally big minutes, and handle it that way. I completely agree.